For so long, we've been here, we've been trying.
Good evening. Hi there, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Springboard Hangout. You know, the Springboard Hangout is our opportunity to learn whilst we have fun and find ways to make ourselves more relevant in the life that we're living. My name is Comfort Okren. Rapiko says that how you love yourself is how you teach others to love you. How you love yourself is how you teach others to love you. In the next few weeks, we'll be doing some series on love, and it's all about love, love, and love. And some people are wondering, how many types of love are there? Well, how many times can you talk about love? Well, we're starting from the basics and we'll go to what most of us are interested in. But first, we're going to start at the basics. And so we say today we are looking at loving yourself. Who are you? What do you have? What do you love about yourself? What are you grateful that you as a person do exist? And most importantly, you as a person has something to offer to the world. What do you love about you? If you like, ask yourself, what do I love about Comfort Okram? Put your own name there. What do you love about yourself? And today is all about loving yourself. We are grateful that today we have in the studios two people that you would enjoy. When I say enjoy, it's not just empty words. You would enjoy having on this series. We have PG Sebastian, and you all know him on the social media compound. He is the love in the social media compound. You understand? So that's PG on one side, and we have Reverend Ekuya Oforibuatin. She is special, and you when you meet her, you see what I mean by that. They celebrate people, and they are well known for they celebrating others. So do share with us. What would you like to learn about self-love? And most importantly, call someone that you love, that you think would really benefit from today's conversation, and let him or her join. Tell us where you are joining us from, and we'll give you a shout out. If you have any questions that you'd like to, or any ideas you want to hear from Ekuya and PG, kindly let us know and share those thoughts with us. It's going to be an interesting time in the next few weeks where we talk about love, and nothing else but love. Do stay with us. We're going for a short break. When we return, we go dive deep into the subject of self-love.
For so long, we've been here, we've been trying.
Welcome back. As you can see from my smile that we're having a very nice conversation behind the scenes. Yes, we are going on with loving yourself or self-love. And as I said, we have PG. PG is a certified relationship coach and family counselor. 15 years and more in the insurance field. He's a head of retail digitization for enterprise insurance. Managing editor also for the Ghana Insurance Hub. It's a very interesting place that he's built for an online news aggregator, of course. Published author of our 30 Little Busy Bees and of Spiders and Silkworms. Spiders and where do you get your titles from?
That's the whole conversation.
Has it got anything to do with self-love?
Well, it's all part. It's
all part of it. What I like is that he loves to cook and is passionate about his kitchen. Unlike someone that I know who will remain nameless for this particular period. Well, TVG, I'm so glad to see you. I mean, one of these days I'll pass by your kitchen because I'm glad I know someone who is...
love to host you.
Oh, thank you. Please, when you see me eating, don't come and say that I invited you myself to TVG's kitchen courtesy of you. I beg you, don't come and tell us anything. Okay, so we have Reverend Ekuya Oforibuatin, Director of Programs for the Anglican Diocese of Accra. Actually, she's one of the first Ladies, are you when you were ordained?
I was number 7.
Number 7.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't know there were any until I saw her ordination. I was like, oh, they do. Okay, interesting. So she's with the Anglican Diocese of Accra, Director of Programs. She's a member of the United States Trade Advisory Committee on Africa, and serves as a board member of the Otumfuo Osei Tutu II Foundation. Also an eminent advisory member, a committee member of the Electoral Commission of Ghana 2020, co-founder of Aquitas, her faith-based foundation, and also a new release in the house, Broken for Use. And when I said, when the team sat down and said we're going to do this series on love, and we said we're going to do self-love, Albert said there's no way we are starting self-love without Reviqua. Without Reviqua. And I said, okay, why? And then he just said, okay, so now read this book. And when I read the book, I realized why. And therefore, my encouragement to you, I mean, as you're watching us today, make it a point. Reb, where can they find the book?
Amazon. Book Nook. Citrus.
Okay.
Vidya.
Okay.
All the usual suspects.
The normal suspects in the book distribution business in Ghana. Please make it your point. Go and buy a copy. You will be glad you did. Anyway, so we are going to self-love. PG,
Yes.
what is self-love?
Self-love, accepting yourself for who you are, everything about you, giving yourself that attention, that care, that not just the physical aspect of it, pampering, no, but it's more of what is also within you. To see all your flaws as just who you are, agreeing and accepting that mistakes that have been made, there is no going back to undo it. But what you can do is to ensure that those mistakes are not repeated in the future. So you are learning from it, and you don't pity party, stay in the past, keeping records of your failings, because that in itself leads to low self-esteem. But self-love is just embracing your mistakes, embracing your scars, just saying that, hey, this is a phase of my life. I made those mistakes. I admit it. I accept it. Even if somebody else inflicted it upon me, one way or the other, I may have also contributed a part to it. And even if I didn't, well, it's past and gone. I love myself. I love myself enough not to wallow in pity. I love myself enough to put myself first, to take good care of myself, eat well, exercise, take good care of my mental health, take good care of my skin, actually. Take good care of my hair. I mean, dress well. That's self-love.
Okay, so he has described to us self-love, but where does self-love fit into the concept of love? And I would like you to help us. He's described self-love very well, and I enjoy it because I mean, you know.
You can flow with that.
I can flow with But where does self-love sit in the whole framework of love?
Of love, okay. So if you think of love, right, Scripture says, what is love? Love is patient, it's kind, it doesn't hold grudges and so on and so forth. It doesn't keep track of wrongs. And whenever we talk about that, we think of it in terms of other people. Mm-hmm. But self-love is the same thing. You've got to be patient with yourself. Yeah. A lot of us are just not patient with ourselves. We get things wrong and we feel like we should have got it right, and we're hard on ourselves. We're not kind to ourselves. We're not kind to ourselves in the sense that we allow other people to treat us badly. That's being unkind to yourself. You shouldn't allow people to treat you badly. When it talks about not holding on to wrongs, a lot of us are stuck in the past because we are holding on to our own mistakes. We've become our mistakes. So we define ourselves by our damage and our scars as opposed to just who we are on the inside. So overall, love is all those things that Scripture says it is, but we have to apply it to ourselves because we too we are also a person.
We people, so if we treat ourselves
well. If we treat ourselves well.
Hey, but you see, isn't that being selfish? Won't you consider loving yourself being selfish and and thinking about yourself and not
About other people.
considering other people. After all, we are not supposed to be selfish. We are supposed to be selfless. And therefore, we shouldn't be thinking about ourselves. We must always be thinking about others. PG.
Well, first and foremost, as to this, I could be wrong, I'm just paraphrasing, but as it's captured in the scripture, a bad well cannot give up good water. So you can't give what is not in you. If you don't know how to love yourself, I wonder on what basis are you going to love somebody? So we have people who hate themselves for their failings, like you rightly said. What it basically means is that they won't cut a slack for anybody who fails. There are people who are impatient with themselves. They will never cut a slack for somebody who is not on their time. But you see, we use ourselves as a training ground so we can be perfect enough for other people. Yeah. If you are not all that she described, all that I have said, and you want to give it to somebody else, I mean, what is your locus? What is your basis? What is a springboard? What is a springboard? You understand? I mean, you need to start from a place and jump. And so before you can jump, you need to first understand what it means to jump, the implications, where you are landing, and then all of that. And after you've done it with yourself and you've perfected that act, it makes it only possible for you to then carry it out. So, yes, it may not be selfish, but I also understand where you're coming from, that there is a very thin line between loving yourself and being a narcissistic person.
Yes.
Because a narcissistic person is that person who can't even take a compliment without letting you know that I'm aware. Oh, wow, you have a nice dress. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
But what if you say it's in jest, I'm just joking?
Yes. No, there is a bit about the joke, and there's a bit about when you realize that this person, anything you say, they will have something sarcastic to say about it. Then you know that the person is now in the terrain of arrogance and narcissism. Yeah. But otherwise, love yourself so you can love someone. And I always say that if you don't define your own love, how then do you even define what is an appropriate love when somebody is offering to you? So people, as a counselor, I get people say that, I think that guy I'm dating, he's too good to be true. I think there's something wrong. I think he's hiding something. Because this guy never gets angry, this guy never fights you, he's always like proper and everything. I'm like, no, you grew up in dysfunction. So when people are giving you what is the real deal, you think that is rather the dysfunction. You have grown up seeing your father slap your mother from time to time. You have grown up seeing abuse. So that has become your definition of love. Yeah. So that if your man is not fighting you or heckling you or doing one of those little things, you think there's something wrong. No, actually that's what it's supposed to be, because the Bible says that love covers a multitude of sin.
Exactly.
So if somebody loves you, they should be able to admit you for who you are, accept all your weaknesses and all your sins and all your failings. And I always tell people that if we're busily preaching that love, nobody will be preaching submission. That's another story.
PD has settled for us the fact that we need to love ourselves. What are some of the behaviors, some of the characteristics that you would observe from somebody who loves himself? And then when you finish that, we just suppose that that's against someone who you would just suppose that against someone who may not love him or herself. Yeah.
Okay. So he kind of touched on it a bit. Somebody who loves themselves, first of all, they take care of themselves. So they take care of the things that have been gifted to them. They recognize that their entire being is a gift from God. Their physical being, their mental being, their emotional being. So they take care of it. They take care of how they look. They take care of how they feel about themselves, what's going on with their brain. They rest. They do good things to themselves and ensure that within them they are at peace, and they are willing to share that love with other people because they have an overflow of it to give to other people. So when a person loves themselves, there's a peace about them. There's a calm about them, and there's a clear willingness on their part to extend the joy they feel within them to other people.
PG, how would you describe someone who may not for some reason,
themselves.
love his or herself. His or her.
Yes, you find a lot of, for want of a better expression, you find a lot of toxicity around them. They are not satisfied with themselves, and it reflects. You see, we are spiritual beings, and so some way, somehow, we always project who we are on other people.
Yeah.
So they are always self-critical, which means that whenever they open their eyes to look at themselves in the mirror, all they see are the flaws. Now, if a person sees that of themselves, naturally they are not seeing something different when they look at other people. So they're also very critical of other people. They are unappreciative. They are very pessimistic of themselves. Their own worldview can be a little bit warped. You know, they always look at things in the extreme way, and that extreme is not the positive extreme but the negative extreme. It is always what could go wrong. It is always what if I fail. It is always I'm not good enough. It is always no, I don't think my body is good enough. Like they have little problems with themselves, and naturally, because that becomes their default thought pattern and their default reasoning, it reflects on the things they say. So sometimes you go to a program, a meeting, people finish talking, and then people are trying to give you feedback, and then when they open their mouth, the only thing that comes out is that one word that you slept, that one mistake. And then people like that on social media, I had to block somebody because it got to a point it was affecting my health. Yes, no, literally. Sometimes you be at work, sometimes you're in a meeting, you're tired, you go to the washroom or something, you pick your phone, and then you see a particular person's notification. Then my heart picks a beat. Because I realize that anytime this particular individual comments is to give a negative feedback. So I ask myself that, are you saying that you don't see anything good? And sometimes for 6 months she's quiet, and the she. For 6 months.
You mean that secret is out?
Yes. For 6 months this person is quiet, then she posts, and it's a negative. So I block that. I'm like, I can't deal with this energy around me. I believe I do good things. People say it. I want you to acknowledge it so that your criticism will be well taken.
Yeah.
So you find that around people a lot. People are not happy in themselves, and they take it out on people. They take it out on their children. They take it out on their spouse. They take it out on their friends, even on their bosses and on their subordinates at work.
I read something in this book. I mean, there's so much in that book, but I kind of identified that past. Would you care to share something about that for us, with us?
Some of the bitterness that I felt as coming up as a teenager, and I say this whenever I speak with students, and they always laugh. I was a very skinny child. That was one, So I was a skinny teenager, so I didn't have the things the boys liked. So that was a problem to begin with.
Right.
Then I had I don't know if it was in chum or crudo, so something on my legs, some infection. And people would tease me about it, So all these things left me feeling very angry and bitter, and all I ever looked for in other people was what was wrong with them, so that
So you can actually see what he's talking about.
So I could see exactly what he's talking about. Because, I always tell people that if you think of a volcano, okay, by the time a volcano erupts and you are feeling a lot has happened inside the volcano. So
Things are knocking.
So bitter people, angry people, the way I was, there's so much going on inside of you that when you open your mouth, the only thing that can come out is lava. Just hot, angry.
It got to be hot. It has to be boiling.
Destroying everything in your path. You don't see anything positive in anybody. And I lived with that for a long time. And when I came out of it, when I think back on it now, all I want to do is talk to young people and tell them that, look, this is no way to live.
Okay.
And there are ways to come out of it, because it's all about what is happening in our head. It truly is about renewing your mind.
Okay.
Because half of the negative impression we have of ourselves is all created in our heads.
Yeah. True.
I can't think of anybody now a couple of people tease me, but the magnitude of teasing that was happening in my head back then, clearly that was not what was going on, But that's what happens, is you just become very negative, and everything around you and everyone around you feels like an attack, and so you're also fighting back to hold what you think is your space.
You know, when I was reading your book, one thing that struck me was the fact that you had a hate list. I was like, whoa! Sis,
Yes.
you had a hate list of
Yes.
people that you had listed, and you know who was the first person on that list? God himself.
He was created me. If he made me different, I wouldn't have the problems I had. So I was going to the source of the problem, and it was him.
And it was him, but in the end, he was the source of the
Absolutely.
solution as well. So we'll move quickly, and not quickly, but we'll now go to another part. So we've looked at the fact that self-love is just realizing and accepting who you are,
Yes.
and accepting not just the good, but accepting the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just saying that it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, this is me. We've also realized that it's something that is more of a mental thing, that you have to look at how you would do it to make it understand what you're going through. So you have realized that I got to accept myself. Number two, I have to have a mental space for myself. But what can we do about how do we then develop this kind of self-image, the strong self-image? How do we develop that thing? How do we develop the self-image?
Well,
Positive
self-image. Okay, so it's more of self-confidence.
Yes.
The first thing for me is the self-love.
Okay.
Because without loving yourself, you can't even be confident in yourself.
Okay.
So the first thing for me, for you to build that unshakable confidence that you just show up in a place, everybody came in a private car, everybody came in a nice car, and then just walking with your leg Benz, and then you just
What? Lega Benz.
And you are cool.
No Mercedes Benz, and then you just feel like on top of the world. You get to a place where people are talking about, I went to jail, I went to this school and everything. Yeah, you went to UCC, and then you're just like chilled. You're just talking with them, So but before you can get there, self-love. That's one. Two, I think that the other thing is positive self-affirmation.
Yes.
You need to talk yourself out of a lot of things.
Yes.
If you don't, because you see, in this life that we are in, nobody's in for you. Sociology and psychology will tell you that by nature, we are selfish people.
Yeah.
We are naturally selfish people. That is, if you choose not to look at it from the God factor, but from evolution factor.
Yeah.
We are basically animals with morals. So we are different. So we are selfish. So you need to be intentional about changing that.
Yes.
Talk yourself out of it. Be constant in your affirmation. Be intentional in your personal self-affirmation. Another thing will also be for you to surround yourself with positive people.
Change the people around
Yes,
you.
if you don't, because if the people around you are a bunch of losers, then we all losers. We all wallowing. I remember when I finished secondary school, my results were not good. I mean, I I'm born ready out of secondary school. And then when eventually I became born again, and I told my friends that I wanted to write some of my papers so that I can go to the university. But you, because your other people went to the university and they are giving you pressure, you also want to. Charlie, let's hang out, let's chill. After all, eventually we'll go to poly. Yes, that was what I was being told. Luckily, around that time, my dad had completed our house, so we moved from that neighborhood to another place. And I told my mom, it was just about a kilometer away from the old place. I told my mom that when these guys come, tell them I'm not home. I locked myself, listened to new tapes. This was in the 90s. Listen to Don Moen, like worship song. I built my inner man. I listened to a new voice. I surrounded myself with new people, and that took me through to university. When I was in university for an entire 4 years, I never stayed in the hall because the hall was a reminiscence of my secondary school life.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the fooling, all the crazy. I went to a boys' school, and like the whole 9 yards. I can't say it, but the whole 9 yards.
Why? You sworn to secrecy?
No.
Oath of secrecy.
I was fairly dismissed. I went on suspension. I didn't write my mock exams for my final years. That's how bad I was. I was like, when they suspended me and they mentioned my name, people didn't even know who I was because I was known by my nickname. And that was it. So I had to unlearn so many things.
Yeah.
And one of them was a company. If you're going to the hall and the Casford boys were raising morale and other things, something is doing you. I beg you to say my narrative. So I was intentional, about building that confidence, ensuring that when I look at myself in the mirror, I don't see a failure. I don't see that guy who's going nowhere. Because people have said so many horrible things to me. but I had to build it up.
Yeah.
And so for me, those were the things that I did.
Halali Dogwe says that greeters, and then Hajia Dela says hi. Anita Day says greetings as well.
Wow.
And Hajia Dela is joining us from Kwabena City.
Nice.
I didn't know Kwabena City was a Kwabena City. Okay. And then Anita Day is joining us from Whole Bolton region.
Nice.
And Abokuma, okay, says that positive affirmation, you know. And then we also have this comment from Makafui Dodo. He says that if we live the love that the gospel talks about, we will not be preaching submission. And it says a hashtag PG. From us. Okay. And definitely we will continue and we'll be getting more of your comments as we go along here. But before we go, a quick question from you, Rev Ikuya. We can call you Ikuya.
Ikuya is fine.
So we've seen PG giving us a practical tip about how he was on that path where felt there was nothing. It wasn't going to go, and he recognized it. So that part of self-recognition about how the future may look if you continue on that journey is very important.
Yes.
You also came to that self-recognition as well. And from there, you kind of doubled back. But one thing I really found out was that you also kind of talked about how important different people played different roles in helping you along that journey.
Yeah.
Does it imply that when you are coming along that road, it's important to get people who will support you on that quest?
Yes, it absolutely means that. So, you know, one of the analogy I used in my book was the story of the Good Samaritan, where there was a man lying on the side of the road and people walked past, but the Good Samaritan stopped to help. We all need people to stop and help. But people can only help us when we are broken, when we've come to the end of ourselves and we recognize that we need help. That guy who was lying on the side of the road, if he was walking, the Good Samaritan would not have stopped and asked him anything. He just have greeted him and moved on, and would never have known what problem he had. So when we ourselves recognize that we have a challenge, that we are struggling with insecurity, that we feel down upon ourselves, we need to find those people that we can trust, who we can count on to help us. And we let them know that, look, I have this problem. I feel this way. And one of the challenges we have in this country is that we always feel like when you go and get help from people like him, that wabodam kakra or mental problem kakra is you doctor there, small one who doctor be. You know, an emotional injury is like a physical injury. If you break your leg, you're not going to bandage it in your house and be on it small and then hope that it will go away. Yeah, it will heal, but it will probably always hurt. You'll probably have a limp. When you break your leg, you go to a doctor because you are admitting that I don't have what it takes to heal my leg. So I'm coming to you as a specialist to solve my problem. All of us go through emotional scars. Some are bigger than others. Some are ripped. Some are just teased, you know. But even if it's just teased, it affects us in different ways. Yeah. And as long as you've been hurt in some way, you always respond to it. You always react to it when people say or do something that takes you back to that time. So you need to be able to admit that I can't do it on my own, so help me. I need a guy like you to talk me through, help me change my mindset. Another thing I wanted to add on to what you said was that to help build up your confidence, one of the things that's really good to have is a thing, something you are good at. You know, invest yourself in a skill, you know, whatever it is, cooking, swimming, something that you know that, as for this one, I'm good at it.
If you close your eyes,
You can do it.
I can do
Build
it.
mastery over that.
You know, so then that way, no matter what is happening around you, you always know that if all else fails, at least I know that I can do this. So when you start getting those negative thoughts that you can't do anything, and so it's like, no, I can. I actually can. There's this one
thing I do.
I know how to do that one. So when your friends, I remember a friend of mine, when we were in secondary school, he was at the polo club. His parents were horse people. And so he knew how to ride a horse, knew how to play polo. He was the only kid in school who knew how to do that. And I remember discussing with him about, so did you ever feel insecure? And he said, yeah, all the time. But I knew how to play polo. So at the end, when school was done, I would put on my polo gear and everybody would look at me like, hey, Charlie, this guy. And that was his thing. Because for kids, that's all you need. You just need something that makes you special. And that helps to boost your confidence.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So when we have to go on a break. We're going for the game changer break. You can see how
I know, right?
We are going for the game changer break. When we return, I will explore how we can help build others in that I want to continue on this for, because I think that we have young people who need to know that they are that special as well.
Yeah.
We're going with the game changer break. Please don't go anywhere. This is so interesting. We're talking about self-love or loving yourself.
The team was stuck. Their product was amazing, but nobody cared. Failure was on the horizon. When P&G first developed their Febreze spray, they were thrilled because it masked even the strongest of odors. During the launch, they hyped up its ability to eliminate foul smells, expecting instant results. But sales started small and only got smaller. The spray had flopped and was going to be cancelled. So they pondered the issue. After all, Febreze worked great. Then they talked to some users and discovered something that shocked them. Today, our game changer is framing. The team realized that people were too familiar with their homes to notice when they smelled bad. Essentially, they didn't see a reason to use Febreze. So they decided to reposition Febreze as a spray that made things smell delightful, instead of something that eliminated disgusting smells. They added more perfume to the previously odorless spray and ran ads showing it being used on freshly laid beds and clean clothes. Sales doubled within 2 weeks, and after a year, Febreze had raked in over $200 million. But what changed? They found the right frame. By positioning Febreze as a fragrant finishing touch to the cleaning process, they gave people a reason to use the spray, and sales exploded as a result. When things don't work out, it's easy to blame ourselves and feel inadequate. But sometimes, just changing our frame is the first step to having the last laugh. This has been the Game Changer with Jojo Okran. Have a phenomenal week.
Welcome back to the Springboard Hangout. This evening we are privileged to be hanging out with PG Sebastian and Reverend Ekuya Osebwati. And we're talking about self-love. We're starting the love series, and we're talking about self-love first. Right. So we have looked at the concept that first love is just enjoying being you. Enjoying the fullness of you, both the good, the bad, and the ugly. We also realize that self-love implies that you can confidently look at what you are good at. Part of building your self-love is seeing what things you are good at and, happening there. For instance, PG says that he's a chef in the kitchen. So I have invited myself to a meal in his house, whether he likes it or not.
Absolutely.
So in addition, we looked at some of the things that young people, how they kind of beat themselves, and how even teasing from friends can actually go spiral out of control. One of the questions that I would like you, that you are listening to us, do answer for us today is that low self-esteem is more common among young adults than mature adults. Do you agree? If yes, why? If not, no. And let's keep this conversation going. And so, I was going to ask you just before we went on the break that how do we let young adults know, or children, how do we build self-confidence in the young adults?
Part of it is having a conversation with them to try and understand what they like. Because invariably...
Have you tried conversing with some of them before?
Oh, yes.
It's not easy.
Oh, it's not easy, but you see, it's not like me and you are talking. No. You know, it's just you ask them, you know, what you guys like doing, and they'll tell you a bunch of silly stuff. What don't you like doing? But then in it, you keep pushing them to examine themselves. Okay. And they'll always come back to you with, I guess I kind of like doing that. You know, a lot of kids like to come off like they don't care. You know, everything is all right. It's okay. Yes, no, that type of thing. But if you push them, especially on the things that they enjoy, everybody loves to talk about what they enjoy. And they get there. They eventually come to the point of, yeah, I like doing this, da. Oh, what do you like about it? Oh, it does this to me. And when I play it, you know, some game they'll talk about and such and such and such. And then you drive them to see that it's not just a game you're playing. You know, the ability to have the kind of eye-hand coordination that a person needs to be able to play some of the games that these kids play. It's genius level. Yeah. But it's getting them to see that they're not just playing a game, that they are applying a talent that is deposited in them, and that is why they can play the game the way they do as opposed to another kid. So it's still their world. But now they are starting to see how that is applicable in the real world and how it's a gift, how it makes them special. And with that, you keep pushing them along the lines of getting to see why they stand out above other people, and they know it themselves.
So, PJ, if you are coming, you are in a family where you are not affirmed, where everything that you do is
not good enough.
Yeah.
Is not good enough. How do you overcome this?
That's a tough one, because it was one of the things I was thinking about when I was preparing for this show. The type of parenting that goes on in the house. Yeah. Because ultimately, that shapes and defines who the person becomes in the future. So if you come from a very authoritarian parent, where it is like a jar and a teacup relationship, everything comes from the jar into the teacup. Nothing goes back. Parents don't care about what you know. They don't care about what you think. They don't care about your opinion. Just shut up and do it. You know, then it affects them in the future. But I think that once you grow up and you know that this is your circumstance, or this is the home you grew up in, and you know that it's affected your self-confidence, it's affected your self-esteem, I think that the first thing you would want to do is to admit that this is not helping you, because it will reflect in your lack of initiative in your adult life, because you've always been told to shut up and take instructions from an adult. So now you are working in an office. If your boss doesn't instruct you, are there. They don't tell you to do anything. And you see, sometimes we judge people for what they are or who they are in their adult life, failing to see that there are some traumas from their childhood that they haven't been able to go past it.
No, but you see, this is where sometimes the old-fashioned one like me, because I'm like, the other day I was listening to a guru. And this person went to one person, a member in the audience, and said, "Oh, who are you?" He said, "Oh, described him or herself," and then said, "Oh, your father told you were special, and this, and now you find that you can't do anything." And then went to someone else in the audience, and the person said, the same description, and now you had a hard parentage, and I said, so the parent is responsible for the hard parentage, and so visited trauma on this person. This person too that you were told you were special. That one too, the parent has damaged you for life. So where does it?
So actually, if I can just talk about this like in 2 minutes.
Yeah, please.
There are three. Yes, there are three different types of parenting. Yeah. There's authoritarian, extreme hard military style of parenting, whatever comes from the parents is right. You don't have an opinion. You are tabula rasa, and you will forever be so until you leave home. That's it. And then we have the permissive parenting, which could be either neglectful. Why is well, she should be in a room. It's 11 p.m. You should know where your teenage daughter is. Have you guys eaten? Well, nobody's crying in the house. I figure they've eaten. It's very neglectful. Then we have the overindulgent. Mommy, I want you to change my room color. What color do you want? I want peach. Okay, we'll change it for you. 3 days later, Mama, my friends came in and they said they don't like my room color. Change it to pink for me. Okay, pink and peach. What's the difference? Mommy, I want pink. Okay, I want fuchsia pink. Then they change it. So before you know, when the child coughs, it's given. Whatever the child wants, it is done. There is no delayed gratification. There is no training the child that, no, wait for its time. Wait for an appropriate time. So such a child grows up, even though they were affirmed and pampered, what happens is that they get corrupted because they always want to have their way. So they end up being drug addicts if there's no money. They end up sleeping their way out if there's no money. They struggle with authority because their boss will tell them that, well, your pay rise is next year. And then, no, I can't work. I want the pay rise now. Like, they can't work with people who try to stagger their progress. So yes, you can't be pampered and affirmed and everything and you actually mess your life up because you have been overindulged. That is why all the rich people, when they die, their kids sort of mess up.
Oh, not all of them.
No,
Please.
I read that. But most rich people, in their lifetime, their businesses end up collapsing. Yeah. Because by the time they are old and they can't run the business and give it to their kids, they were never taken through the process of running the business. Everything was available to them. So the boy just shows up in the office. I'm the boss. Today I need 20,000. They don't realize that the 20,000 their dad was giving them those days was a residual income. Now they are tapping into the first money. So yes, it can be affirmed but it can be corrupted. And it can also have that hard parenting and it will affect you.
Yeah.
The best parenting style, according to psychologists, is authoritative parenting. When the parents share the view, opinion, they show that I'm the adult. Then they also understand that ultimately the person who bears the final responsibility or consequence of those choices is the child. So they also take from you. Then they reason with the child. They talk with the child. They also recognize at every stage in life that the child is growing. So they give a little responsibility, a little role, and they accept some level of responsibility. So there's a balance. That is where you find the best parenting. But both extremes always end up producing, according to psychologists, always bad adults in some extent.
Life, basically, the summary of it all is that life is not easy, but you need to love yourself.
Yes.
Ben from Mankasim says, I love the Falling in Love series. Thank you, Springboard and Comfort Okran. Ama Watson says, I'm happy to watch this. And gives us a smiley face. And it's a day. It says that how, and I want you to answer, I'd like you to answer this question. How do I trust the one I'm going to tell the problem to? So pause there, have that at the back of your mind. Promise Fiajigbe says, good evening, everybody. I'm watching you from Ashiaman, Lebanon. This is a good conversation, Comfort. You're making my night great and awesome. Keep it up. Hey, Promise, that's for you there. You never disappoint. Thank you for being. And Esther Wakani Bambi says, wow, I'm learning a lot here. Thank you. Prosper says that, Prosper and Ziga says, my greetings to you and your guests. Watching you from Tema, Middle East. You people are making my night terrific. Hey, you guys, shall And Shai Osman says are very profound. And PSC Gilbert says, hello. So Charlie, let's Anita has a very genuine question.
Yeah. How do you know you can trust the person?
How do you know you can trust the person you're telling your problem to? How do you know the person will not betray you?
So one of the mistakes that we often make is that we just assume that because somebody is in a particular position, that they will hold our information in confidence. That's an assumption we should never make. It doesn't matter that the person is a priest, a counselor, whatever they say they are. You've got to test that relationship. So it's not just anybody. You don't just walk into a place and say, I'm looking for an adult to talk to and go and spill out your guts to them. you yourself have to start building a relationship with that person and test to see that you can actually trust that what you say to them will be held in confidence, that they will give you good advice. The fact that somebody is an adult or a person in authority doesn't mean their advice is good advice. They themselves may be damaged people who are just going to further damage you. So it's always tricky. But I will also add the fact that we also got to pray about some of these things. You know, pray and be led in the right direction. And prayer is not a mysterious thing. It is a conversation with God. So ask him that, God, you know, lead me to the right person. And a number of things will lead you to that person. How you meet the person, other people suddenly mentioning that person to you. A number of things will guide you to the fact that this is probably the person I should be talking to. But then still, just test it. Say something that will not damage you too much and see how it goes. See what they say to you. See if you hear it any place else. And you can gradually start building up that relationship. But pray about it also. That's really important.
So, Anita, pray about it. Test the waters to see if the person would keep that confidence.
Yeah. Ask other people.
And
get a reference. Get a reference. Who is this guy? Well, who is this lady? Can I trust her? Yeah.
So what do we do with friends or people who come into our lives who, to all intents and purposes, they are really good people.
Right.
But when you notice their thought patterns, they always have something negative. Maybe there's some demon hiding in some corner somewhere.
Yes.
I always tell people that whenever you are going to share your struggle with somebody who is prejudiced or biased towards you, because even friendship can lead to some form of biases and prejudice. So no family will throw their own out, for instance. So if you are from where I am, if you're having a problem with your spouse and you talk to your own family people, regardless of how honest or how true your spouse is, chances are that they will want to side with you. And even when they are bashing your spouse, naturally they will kind of hush yours. Or even if they will bash you, but they'll still take you in. And so I always tell people that try and talk to very objective people who don't have a part in the conflict, people who probably don't know the two of you. It's very neutral, and you go to them. Again, look for things that show that the person is a professional, for instance. So for me, when somebody book for counseling, one of the things you get is a non-disclosure.
Absolutely.
Text. It's two-paged, composed by a lawyer. And in it, I've stated that if this conversation should ever go out, it will be where there is a dispute in what I told you, what you did, and what resulted in your predicament. You've taken me to court, and the judge then says that I'm subpoenaing the content of this section. So all my sections are recorded. All of them are recorded. I take notes and I also record it, so that if a judge says that I want it in my court, then I can release it. Otherwise, it is confidential. It is held inside. You won't hear it anyway. To the point that sometimes when I have like one of those weekends where I can have like 6 sections back to back, when I finish, I don't come on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because I'm scared that in my posting, I may probably end up saying something that I had in subconsciously.
Yes,
so sometimes I can go on Facebook for like 2 or 3 days. Just so that it's all messed up in my head now. I don't have direct recollection. Some of them, I will actually tell you that, you know, your story is a bit generic. It's quite not unique to you. And I post around this. So if you should see anything that is similar remotely to your problem, I'm not posting your problem. It's because your problem is a patterned problem.
Yeah.
I try to build that confidence, and I try as much as possible to keep it. And that's what I'll tell people. When you are not sure, talk to a professional. Not somebody who calls themselves.
Exactly.
Because that's what the title, we cannot put it upon ourselves. But somebody who has a recognized business, say an office or something, work with somebody. There's a structure around what they are doing. There are some paperwork, some documentation to back what they are doing. Then you know that you are dealing with a proper person. In worst case, I can sue them.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
We are talking about self-love. How can self-love now lead you to pursue them?
You love yourself.
That's so much like abuse you.
Yes.
Abuse your trust.
Thank you.
If we are all too soon, our time is up.
Oh, how? We just started.
Now our time is up. So could you give us Would any final comments or anything about that you would like us to have?
Sure. Look, at the end of the day, God created something unique about each of us. And to discard that thing or to dismiss that thing is almost to reject a gift that God has given you. There's something special about you. And it doesn't matter what you're going through right now. It is something that God is keenly aware of, and He's using to build you up for another day. So just hang in there, look within yourself, look at the gift that you have, and love yourself.
What do you say, PG, as your
I
last words?
would tell our listeners that first and foremost, love yourself as you would in the most ideal of ways. Don't think about what somebody says, don't think about what you've seen. Love yourself the way you can relate with it. Build your confidence, build your self-esteem. Eschew negative people, eschew negative comments. You've made mistakes. Don't be too critical on yourself. Just move past it and then learn from it. Just don't keep repeating the same mistakes again. Be careful with the kind of people you surround yourself with. Bad company corrupts good morals.
Yeah.
So be very careful. People can damage you. People can uplift you. So look for people who uplift you, people who bring the best out of you, not the worst out of you. If you find out that anytime you are with people, it triggers certain negative behaviors. So you talk to your friends, by the time you are done, you are having problems with your spouse. Anytime you are with some people, you come home and there's a problem in the house, you know that they don't sound good advice into your ear, which is why it always reflects when you come home. You need to make the change and then all that. But be bold. Just go out there, just be yourself, just be happy and love yourself.
Just go out there, be bold, and just be yourself. Be happy. We have a lot of comments, and if there's one that if I don't read, I'll be in trouble. Spices, Species D. Williams, hey boy, says, good evening. I'm watching live from Brekum, Bidan, Bono region. Thank you for joining us, Williams. And then Albert says, big ups to Reverend Ekuya Oforibuasi. Tell her she's got swag. Her book is awesome. And as for PG, he's always been my man, but the food invitation, no.
I extended the invite to you.
I know what you wanted, you've got it. And then Tony Jojo Pilolo says that Mensa says that this is so edutaining. I like that. I like that. So that's a new word, guys. It's edutaining. You're just looking at edutaining. Thank you, Springboard and Mama Comfort. And Anita Anita says that well done. Thanks, well understood when you responded to it.
Excellent.
And Jemima Dakwa says that Reverend Ekuya, I really admire you. Oh. I wish I have your anyway. So then that brings us to the end of today's program. I would like to encourage you. Thank you all for listening to us. Thank you for the entertainment. I'm glad that you learned something. And please, when you go out, love yourself. Forgive yourself when you feel you've done bad. But forgive yourself and give yourself the chance to blossom, because that is who God created you to be, so that you be light into the world. I would encourage you to listen to the same episode on eTV on Sunday at 5 p.m. And those, if you want a top up, kindly listen to Reverend Albert on Joy FM at 7 p.m. on the virtual university. He'll be talking to Rashida Nasamu. She's a great friend of mine, and she's a fantastic lady. You would love to hear behind the scenes in her engine room what she's been up to. Nice. On Monday at 5 p.m., the same edition of the virtual university will be repeated on Joy Prime. Don't miss that one either. And so until we come your way next week with the next session on loving yourself, or the series on love, don't go anywhere. Enjoy this week, because this week is a week for you to love. And next week when you come, let's hear from you. How did the week go loving yourself?
Nice.
Enjoy a fantastic week, and I love you all. Good night.
For so long